This is an older PocketWizard. It's a transceiver. I use these a lot to fire my strobes, whether it's a monoblock or whether it's a pack. Um, these old transmitters or transceivers are, from 2006. They still work. They work great. And the reason that I'm putting this video together is I recently sold a one of two compact 600 monoblocks that I own by Profoto. I decided to get rid of one for I think $125. In fact, it's this one. I photographed it for the ad. It came with a reflector. And the person I sold it to was an art student doing a lot of work in photography, and she was home for the summer, and she wanted to continue practicing while she was outside of class. So she had to travel a little ways. I live outside of Seattle. She was coming into the Seattle area. And when I sort of asked, if there are any questions prior to the trip, she wasn't really sure how to get it connected to her camera. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me, but as she explained it, she was using new Profoto equipment in the school that she went to. And she kind of got the sense that the Profoto dedicated triggers that you put on top of your camera were probably expensive. She knew anything Profoto new-ish is expensive. Now this is old, probably from 2012, so $125. If you think about it, 600 watts, it still works great. It's a good deal. So I talked to her a little bit about this, and this is one of the solutions that I use. And it's made by a company called PocketWizard. Back in the day, they were kind of the industry standard. Now you can get a pair of these, and you need two. One goes in the hotshoe of your camera. The other one, through a cord, will connect to your flash or your strobe. And I'll explain that in a minute. But, there may be a pair you can buy used between $50 and $75. So one of these is probably $25 to $35. They're very straightforward. There's no menu. I like that a lot. I'll explain the dials and the switches here in a moment, and how you connect it in a moment. But you need per transceiver, you need two AA batteries. So if you have a pair of these, you're going to have four AA batteries. And so let's switch gears here and talk about how do you get it connected to your strobe. Most strobes made in the last 15 years use a sync port, which is called a phono sync port, and it happens to be 1.25 inches. So that's what you're looking at here, sort of an upper right-hand corner under the word, or right above the word sync. So that is, it's like a headphone jack. If you have old style headphones, it's 1/4 inch. So you're going to look for a cable. And I got this on Amazon. I think it was $5. And at one end of the cable, in this case, it's what my strobe needs. It's going to be a 1/4 inch. And at the other end of the cable, it's a smaller plug, and that is 3.5 millimeter. So it's a 3.5 millimeter to 1/4 inch cable that you're going to look for. I got this as a mono plug. These are typically made for, stereo type equipment. So the plug is going to be set up for stereo, a little bit different than mono. I don't know if that matters. I just went with mono. I was able to find it. I knew mono would work. I think it's $5. So when you connect one of these to the transceiver, it is on the top of the transceiver. There's two ports. I use the one that's to the right. It's flash only. It's right next to that little red dot. That's where the 3.5 millimeter jack goes in. It is possible to actually trigger your camera, the shutter button, using one of these remotes. I've never had experience doing that. you'd probably need to get a cable dedicated and made by Profoto to do that. Um, and I know it would probably work with Nikon. I know it would probably work with Canon. I use a Sony, so those cables are kind of hard to get. So I've never done that. So, um, getting it connected is simply plugging in the cable into the back of the camera, plugging the cable into the transceiver, and then you are going to take this unit here, the second one, and put it in the hot shoe of your uh, camera. And there's power, you turn them on, and then, the buttons that you're looking at here, transmit mode, you want to set that, that's the button at the top, you want to set that to both. If you set it to the right, to remote, I think what that does is it's used to fire the trigger on your camera. So I don't do that. So I leave it in both. And then the channels, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever channel you pick needs to be identical on both. So, back in the day, if you were shooting an NBA basketball game and there were a lot of other photographers around you, or let's say you're covering an event at Congress or at the White House, and there's a bunch of other professional photographers 15 years ago using these PocketWizards, you don't want to fire someone else's flash, so you'd pick a dedicated channel. Today, it's not a big deal. So if you're working by yourself, it's really not a big deal. Just make sure you match the channel. So I put both of mine to channel 2. And yeah, that is about as complicated as these things get. I do put a cord in that little loop in the upper right hand corner, and what that allows me to do is it allows me then to hang the transceiver either off of the handle that's on my strobe, that's that black handle, or a handle that's on my light stand, let's say the Matthews handle in the bottom of this photo. It just means that I'm not supporting this unit, and the unit doesn't weigh that much. I'm not letting it just dangle based off the this monoplug cable from the back of the unit. So they work really, really well. They're inexpensive, and actually the whole thing is inexpensive. I sold this 600 for $125, and that included the reflector. So, and it works great as long as you're comfortable working with mains power, plugging it into the wall. And so for $125 and maybe another $75 to get a pair of triggers, you're in for $200, and you have a Profoto Strobe. You can't even get a new 600 watt strobe that's of any kind of quality close to that price. So the old stuff works. It works just great, and it is not that expensive.